It's Monday, April 14th, 2025, and this is episode 333 of You Can Bet on That. Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Can Bet on That, a podcast for the recreational gambler. I'm Mark Duvall.
And I'm Dr. Mike.
Dr. Mike, how are things going?
Pretty good. Just day by day, Mark.
Any gambling?
No gambling since the last podcast, other than our daily sports wagers, which have gone pretty well lately.
Pretty well, yeah, not too bad. Baseball has been going pretty well, and certainly the Padres, as Padres fans, we're very excited to have them best record in the majors.
Yes, they've been playing well, and they've got 2 or 3 critical injuries, and the subs have dealt with that very nicely.
Oh, Dr. Mike, I actually have something to confess. I am down for our weekly poker game for the year.
Are you serious?
I had, 2 weeks ago, I had the worst loss in the history of the game by far. I mean, I blew away my
previous. Are you serious?
Yeah, just terrible.
Worst loss for you or worst loss for anybody?
Oh, for me. Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Just for me.
When you said worst loss in the history, I'm like, oh my God, that's pretty big.
No. In fact, 51 other times, somebody has lost more than I lost last week.
Okay.
My worst loss. So,
yeah.
No.
Your worst loss. Okay.
But it does put...
that was really shocking. I was ready to stand up here.
Yeah, I don't know how that could happen. Now, I'm up for poker for the year thanks to Dave's tournament, because I won that. So I'm still up for poker. But for our weekly Tuesday night game, I'm down. Usually this late into the year, I'm not down. So we'll just see.
Yeah,
Maybe this will be my first losing year. I don't know.
Well, it's only April.
I know.
You got a lot of year to go. What happened?
You know, it was just one of those nights where I don't think I played that badly. I'm sure I could go back if I really looked at it and I made some mistakes. But, you know, it's just one of those things. We play a lot of wild card games now, right? And those can get so crazy. You know, I had a straight flush. The other guy had 5 of a kind, which in our game beats a straight flush, right? It's just things like that. It's just getting second best and, you know, shoving all the money in. So, no, I can't point to any single thing. It was just I kept losing with second best, which is how you're going to lose the most money, right? When all night long you have second best.
Right. Well, I've said that many a time. How come I keep getting second best?
Yeah.
Well, Mark, I hate to point this out, but I feel it's my responsibility as a co-host and a friend of yours. You had a poor showing in the You Can Bet on That tournament.
It's true. You're right.
And now you're down for the year.
Yeah.
Maybe the luck has shifted, Mark.
Or is it time to pack it in? Think I'm too old for this stuff.
You can't hang anymore. Maybe you give it one more shot. You have another night like that. We're going to have to put a handicap sticker on your back.
Guys,
you play.
I can't come back anymore. I can't afford it. Meanwhile, they're looking at me cross-eyed because I win almost every year. It's like, what?
Yeah. It's like that time that, as long as I live, I will never forget this. Paul and I went to a little poker game that was put on by like an acquaintance.
Okay, right. So somebody maybe who didn't play poker regularly or...
Right.
Okay.
Or I can't remember if it's Paul or I. One of us knew this person.
I think I know this story. Yeah, go ahead.
Good friend.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we went and a bunch of guys we don't know. And, you know, at first things are going good because they weren't great poker players.
Yeah.
And then somebody called AC Doocy.
Right. We've talked about that on a previous episode, but it's a pot game that can get out of hand quickly.
Yes, and that's what happened. It got out of hand quickly. And Paul and I were the unfortunate beneficiaries of that getting out of hand, where we lost some big pots. And so we're both down quite a bit of money. And then comes around to some guy who, you know, didn't really know what he was doing, but he got the opportunity and he went for the pot and he won. And then he left.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't even that late, but all of a sudden he's up, $500 or $600. So he leaves.
Yeah.
And we're like, what? it's like 10 o'clock. You're not going to stay and give us a chance to get our money back? But no, he left.
Yeah, that's why we have said if you're in a home poker game and you're going to leave early, you need to announce that well before you're actually going to leave. You can't just win a pot and say, okay, I'm out of here. That's extremely bad etiquette.
And if you say at the beginning, well, I got to leave at 10 because blah, 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 everyone knows that. Okay, fine. But yeah, you just, Paul and I are looking at each other like, well, there goes all of our money.
Yeah, there's no way to get it back.
There's no way to get that back. Oh, but anyway, yeah, that's home poker. I'm sure you'll have a big night here and all of a sudden be the big winner for the year.
I probably will. I just need to remember to treat my fellow players with respect, which
yes.
I don't think I do. I'm actually pretty rude to them most of the night.
Yeah, you're abusive.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
You're a poker bully.
That's right. What'd you call
You're
for?
The guy at the table that is pretty much right all the time and then just lets you know when you're playing bad. So nobody likes him. But they can't argue because he's right. So
they can't argue, but it doesn't mean like they have to like you.
Yeah, right.
That's kind of where I'm at. All right. Anyway, more to come. We got an email suggestion from listener Scott. Let me read what he says here. I'm a new craps player and really enjoy playing and learning about the game. I know I have an addictive personality. No matter the hobby, I go all in on it. Sports, vacation planning, whatever. But I know there is more danger in going all in on gambling. To help keep myself in check, I've done something that might be helpful to other listeners. Within my iPhone, in the Find My app, whenever I arrive at my local casino, my wife gets a notification. This helps put some social pressure on me not to sneak down to the casino every opportunity I get. Some people have enough self-control not to go overboard, but this is helping me stay within a responsible limit. So there you go. If you don't trust yourself or you want to, this is sort of like when a compulsive gambler self-excludes. You know, you can self-exclude yourself. You get on this list. And then if you show up at the casino, they're supposed to kick you out. Not quite that extreme, but it's like, no matter what, I'm letting my wife know.
That means you can't gamble at all.
Right.
What he's doing is putting pressure on his own conscience that, my wife knows I'm here. I better not go too crazy or
whatever. Should I even go? Because I know my wife's going to get into the notification. And again,
and she'll be mad. I know she'll be mad.
Yeah,
so,
right. Yeah. All right. So some advice for listeners out there who think that might help.
Well, the problem with that, though, Mark, with, letting your wife know.
I
don't know. Just tell her you're going, right? And say, I'll try and be good.
You just don't understand people with addictive personalities, do you, Dr. Mike?
Well, I know, but...
your solution just seems, just tell your wife. If it were that easy for some people, well, that is what they do. This is a little extra help. Little technology help.
I tell my wife, and then she phones me when I've gone too far. Get home.
When it's too late? You mean you've been there too long? She phones you?
Too long, or whatever.
Okay.
No. She's my conscience because I don't have one when it comes to gambling.
Yeah, there. Now you.
Well, I understand that because people are like, oh gosh, I got to get this back, and the only way to get it back is to keep playing, right? It's like the guy leaving the poker game, Mark. I'm never going to get that money back. Yep. Well, if I leave the casino, I'm not getting back what I lost already. So you get caught up in that loop.
You do, and this is a way to try to help.
Yeah. It's a time loop, kind of like on Star Trek.
It's exactly. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like a time loop on Star Trek.
Yeah, you keep reliving the same bad scenario. The ship always explodes at the end.
Gosh, when I
chased, until you break the loop.
When I chased, I lost last time, right? I was throwing good money after bad. Same thing happened last time. I'll figure this out eventually. Computer, restart simulation.
Yeah. Well, you have to have like data or somebody who can figure out that you're in the loop to begin with. Most of us can't even figure out we're in the loop, Mark.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we wrapped up that subject quite nicely. Yeah, listen. All right, Dr. Mike, we got an email from a listener who works at Hard Rock Casino in northern Indiana, where they've got 2 new games that they've started dealing. One is called Knockout 52, which is interesting enough. I heard about this game actually several months ago. The Wizard of Odds did a video on it, but it's just much too hard to describe on an audio podcast. It's actually not that hard once you see the game and how it's played, but to try to describe it on the podcast, I'd be crazy. But the other game they're introducing is Lucky 9, and that's way easier to explain.
I'm laughing at your first one. Is this like that game we play in the plane where you say, "Is it anyone's birthday?"
Yeah, boy, we haven't played that in a long time. You and I haven't been on a flight in a long time. Yeah, I'm not sure how it goes. Is it anybody's birthday? And I can't remember the rest of the rules, but ultimately all the cards end up on the floor of the plane.
Yeah, it's like 52 card pickup.
Yeah, it's very similar.
You have to yell,
it's a variation.
Is it anyone's birthday? The minutiae of the game is hard to explain on a podcast.
I've always had trouble
on a plane,
with the minutiae.
And on a plane, it's hilarious.
Yeah. Sir?
Why are there cards everywhere? Next thing you know, you're strapped down with about 8 seatbelt extension things.
We're going to have to make an early landing, everybody. We apologize. Let us know if a card hit you in the face.
By the way, is it anyone's birthday?
Yeah, this is your captain speaking. Just wondering if it's anyone's birthday. All right, Lucky 9. You ready to learn this game?
Yes, I am.
All right. It's like a combination of blackjack and baccarat. And the idea is to have a better hand than the dealer, where the hands are evaluated as in baccarat. So 9 is the best hand. Okay. So before the game starts, the player makes a wager. And this is a case where all players are playing against the dealer. There's not like a banker hand and a player hand. It's all players are playing against the dealer, just like in blackjack. The player gets 2 cards face up, and the dealer gets 1 card down and 1 card up. Again, kind of like blackjack. The player may stand, hit, or split. And just like blackjack, they can only split if the 2 cards have the same rank. If they stand, they don't get any more cards. Again, kind of like blackjack. If they hit, they get an additional card, but they can only hit once. You can only get 1 additional card, and then that's it. If they split, they only get 1 additional card on each hand. In other words, they can't hit after that. So they split, and those split hands, they only have 2 cards each. They can't take a hit on them. However, they can resplit if they get, another card. You can resplit up to 4 individual hands, but you can't hit after you split. Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha.
Once all the players have made their decisions, then the dealer turns over their card. If their total is 4 or lower, they'll take an additional card. Otherwise, they'll stand. And again, remember how baccarat is evaluated, right? 10s and face cards are 0, aces are 1, and deuces through 9 are just their face value. And you just total up the cards. And if it goes over 10, you subtract 10 to get the total. So if you have an 8 and a 7, that total's 15. You subtract 10, it's a 5.
You've got a 5.
8 and 7 is 5. So just like baccarat. Okay. If the player has what's called a lucky 9, that's a 2-card 9, like a face card and a 9, and the dealer doesn't have a lucky 9, the player's wager gets paid 3-2. So a little bit better than like baccarat, right?
Blackjack.
Kind of like blackjack, right? If the player's total is 2 or less, the player's wager loses, regardless of what the dealer has. So you can see how this is different than baccarat, right? 2 or less, you automatically lose. In all the other cases, the player's total would be between 3 and 9. And in that case, the player and the dealer compare hands. If the player's hand is higher, the player's wager wins, even money. If the dealer's hand is higher, the player's wager loses. And if the player and dealer have the same hand, the wager pushes. That's true even if player and dealer both have a lucky 9, a 2-card 9. That's a push.
Okay. All right.
And then there are some side bets where you can bet you get like 3 threes, and there's a bunch of different side bets with terrible odds. So that's going to depend. The game's actually been around for about 15 years, but I hadn't heard about it. The Wizard doesn't even have a page on it. He did talk about it briefly in one of his forums, but said, this game isn't currently being offered. I'm not going to do an analysis on it. So there's no Wizard page that I know of. But coming to Hard Rock Casino, Northern Indiana. So who knows? And it actually doesn't sound bad, right? It really is kind of a good combination of blackjack and baccarat.
Yeah, it's blackjack and baccarat. We'll see how appealing it is to like baccarat players or just blackjack players. Yeah, if you're a blackjack player, maybe you'd rather just play regular blackjack.
That's a good question. Who would like this game better, a regular blackjack player or a regular baccarat player?
I imagine a regular baccarat player.
You think so? Because I was thinking blackjack.
Really?
Yeah. Because I don't know, baccarat players, they seem really passionate. More passionate than blackjack players.
That is true.
Yeah,
that is true.
I might be wrong, but...
Well, it seems to me like it's going to be a game that appeals to people who aren't regular blackjack or baccarat players.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Some guy going to the casino is like, oh, that's interesting. And, it's different. I'll play that.
Yeah. And again, since there's no Wizard page, and certainly I didn't try to figure out the basic strategy, so it would be interesting. When do you hit? When do you stand? In some cases, it's going to be obvious that your total will dictate. But are there some questionable ones when you can see the dealer's up card where maybe, hit and stand would be different? And splitting nines. I mean, at first it's like, oh, great, split nines so that you can get 2 nines. But you've got an 8. with 2 nines. So it seems like you wouldn't split that. I don't know when you'd split. I haven't thought about it too much. So
yeah. Well, I'm sure somebody, if it catches on, somebody will figure it out.
Oh, it won't catch on. But it's interesting.
You don't think so? By the way, I was reading the other day about a lot of casinos going back to 3-2 blackjack.
Yes, good. I'm glad you brought that up because the Strat in Las Vegas was talking about it. The headline was something like, Casino adopts rules that are better for the player. And I kind of laugh because, they're going back to the rules that had been around for years, right? So.
Yeah, right. But maybe you're going to see a paradigm shift there. Maybe they were losing players and, they just got to get players back. I mean,
maybe.
Even if they have to pay a little more on blackjack, they need the players.
Yeah, it's a good trend. Anyway, Lucky 9, again, I was reading an old forum on Wizard of Vegas. I sometimes say Wizard of Vegas when I mean Wizard of Odds, but Wizard of Odds has a forum called Wizard of Vegas. And they were talking about Lucky 9. Again, this was about 15-year-old post. And in the post, again, this is like 2011, it said, they're going to be bringing this to Harrah's, Southern California soon. So maybe they dealt it there while we were playing there, but we just couldn't pull ourselves away from the craps table to notice. It was probably right before we started the podcast.
Oh, maybe, so, yeah. Well, if they did, we didn't see people lining up for it.
No, we certainly didn't. Well, Dr. Mike, Anzac Day is coming up. Have you heard of Anzac Day? Now, you lived in Australia for a while.
Holiday,
yeah.
Yep. Anzac Day is a big deal.
Okay, so that's coming up on April 25th. Anzac stands for Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, who originally fought in World War I. And the reason we're bringing it up is because there is an Australian gambling game called 2 Up. Did you ever see 2 Up when you were in Australia, Mike? Or hear about it?
That does not ring a bell.
Okay.
2 Up.
I'm sure our Australian listeners are thinking, of course we've heard of 2 Up. Now, normally, 2 Up is technically illegal. But on Anzac Day, it's completely legal. It's like an homage to the troops who were playing in World War I. Apparently, they played it quite a bit.
Yeah. A lot of people, not so much Australians, but people living in Australia who aren't native Australians think that Anzac Day is like a Independence Day, like in America.
Like July 4th, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not. It's more like a Memorial Day.
Yeah. Well, 2 Up is a relatively simple game where 2 coins are thrown in the air and players bet on whether they'll both be heads or they'll both be tails or they'll be one of each. And it really is that simple, but there's a lot of ritual associated with it. The person who flips the coins is called the spinner. And they use this small piece of wood called the kip to flip the coins. It's got little indentations in it where you put the coins. Both coins are flipped at the same time, right? And then they flip up. And there's
like
also
a cricket paddle with
I guess
indentations
but
in
not quite that big. But
Right.
yes, yeah. And there's more. I won't go into a lot more detail, but I will post a link to the 2UP Wikipedia page if anybody would like more information. But that's coming up a week from this Friday, April 25th. Happy Anzac Day to all our listeners down under, and enjoy your sessions of 2UP.
It's funny. It's legal on Monday. It's like kind of like the Purge here in
Very
America,
much like the
right?
Purge, yes.
Yeah, they're just one day a year.
That would be the Purge for you and me, right? We're dealing
Yeah.
craps out of our house. This
Yeah,
is what
right.
you're doing when
When-
crime is allowed, any crime, and you're dealing craps?
And you're dealing craps.
That's right. Sorry, 7 out, you lose. And then the guy shoots you and takes your money.
Right. It's a risk, but it's what we do.
That's what we do. Hey, thanks to everyone who's been clicking through our Amazon link. Remember, whenever you're going to buy something through Amazon, please go to our page first, youcanbetonThat.com, and click through our Amazon link towards the top of the page. That means it's time for voicemails. First up is Nick.
Hi, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick in Kalamazoo with a quick trip report. My wife and I decided to try Virgin Cruise Lines for the first time. We got a casino offer. We normally are royal people, so we wanted to try something different. It's also 18 plus, better food, etc. Kind of fit what we were looking to do over my wife's birthday. The casino is not huge. It's not small. Has a limited number of slots. More tables than I expected. The craps table was actually player generous. The field played 2 for the 2 and 3 for the 12. So that was interesting. $10 minimums, 3, 4, 5 odds. That's unusual on cruise ships. Usually it's 1 odds or maybe 2, depending on what you're betting. You have to bet more to get more odds. So that was exciting. Also had the all tall small. I don't usually see bonuses on the cruise ships that I've been on, which was nice. And it was $1 on those. So I was able to bet it for the crew and have a good time. Decent amount of craps action. Lots of people getting taught how to play. So different environment. People throwing in late bets, buying in the middle of the roll, leaving in the middle of a roll. All that stuff you'd expect with newer players. I was lucky to hit the all tall small a couple times, which helped my bankroll. Only having $1 on it, so I didn't get a lot, but helps when you have some of those bad rolls. I ended up in an interesting situation. The night before, I made 5 points. People were loving it. I came back the next day. People recognized the hat. People think you could do it again. But there was a gentleman beside me that we were playing, and it was getting later in the evening, and his significant other came up very drunk to the table, very belligerent. Quickly, the pit boss came over and was trying to help him get back to his room. And the gentleman beside me ended up saying, I have to call her up. Sorry to do it in the middle of your roll. But he had 2 come bets out there and they let him take the odds, but he obviously can't take the come bets. And they're like, well, what do you want to do with them? And he's like, just give them to this guy who was me. And I said, well, let me pay you for him. Let me give you $20. And he's like, no. You gave me a really good roll a couple nights ago. Help me out. I appreciate it. So I accepted, but felt weird about it. He left. I ended up putting max odds on the come bets and hitting them and kind of felt bad about it. Next day I see him. I offer him the $20. He's like, don't worry about it. But that was interesting. I've not run into that particular situation before, but nice that it turned out okay. They had Ultimate Texas Hold'em. That was $10. They also made you bet $10 on the side bets, which was weird. Normally they'll let you bid 5, but whatever, did okay there. They had 3 card. They had plenty of blackjack, which I think was 3-2, but I don't play blackjack. And I believe the roulette was 00. The other quick thing I want to mention is that I'm not much of a sports bettor. So I made some basketball sports bets before we left. Did okay, and then ended up making one the other night on the Michigan State game against Ole Miss. Is that who it was? Doesn't matter. But anyway, Michigan State -3.5. They're up 6 with 4 seconds to go. They're inbounding the ball. The kid runs down and shoots a 3 and makes it a 3-point difference. I came out of my chair and was yelling, no. My wife was in the other room like, what happened? What happened? She went to Michigan State. Did they lose? I was like, no. But I just lost my bet on a useless 3, and she was angry that I was so upset about a $10 bet, whereas her team won and is moving on. I still have a futures bet on State, but man, that bad beat really just gets me. I don't know if you guys have any good bad beat stories, but I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. Always appreciate the show. Thank you for much everything you do. Look forward to updating you guys when I get back from Las Vegas and WrestleMania.
Oh, good. Have fun there. Yeah, WrestleMania 41 coming up this weekend, April 19th. So have fun there, Nick. Mike, we've had some sports bad beats, but are there any that really stick out to you?
Yeah.
I can't think of any. Can you?
No, not really. That's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
sports, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that last second shot that caused you to lose the game, or all you need is like a field goal and the team that's the ball, so they're just killing the clock,
Yeah.
even though they're on the 10-yard line or something, right?
Right.
The worst feeling I had, though, was we were in Vegas for a playoff game. I don't remember who I was with. I mean, it was probably you, but it might have been someone else. But the Chargers were playing Baltimore. And I was going in and out of the sports book. This was back before they really had a lot of monitors, like
Out on the floor.
tables,
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of TVs. So I was playing, but then running in there every once in a while to watch a little bit. And it was a huge pro Baltimore crowd. And I'm wearing my Charger stuff. And there was one guy who was just totally obnoxious. And I think the Chargers lost that game. It was a close game, but they lost it at the end. And not that I lost a bunch of money that I had bet like $100 or something on the Chargers, but it was just the crowd. That to me was a bad beat. That one I'll never forget. Being like, we're in Vegas. And
Yeah,
I'm
you'd
the guy
think there'd be
wearing the
more
Charger
Chargers
hat.
fans. Yeah, because it's so much closer.
Right. And it was just full of Baltimore people. So just bad luck, I guess.
Yeah. Well, if you're interested in Bad Beats stories, sometimes on SportsCenter they'll have a segment called Bad Beats. And every once in a while they'll actually have an entire show called Bad Beats on ESPN. So check the You Can Bet on That TV listings for date and times.
There you go.
Good.
That casino on the cruise ship sounded pretty good. I don't usually hear about casinos with that good of player roles or
for craps especially. Yeah, you don't.
No, they have you trapped, right? They can pretty much offer anything they want if you want to play.
Yeah.
It's either that or go watch a third run movie in the theater or.
Well, good. Virgin Cruise Lines. Thanks for the report, Nick. All right, next call.
Hey guys, how's it going? I called in about a week ago on this topic of getting overpaid at the casino. Well, this weekend I had the biggest overpayment I've ever had. I had 2 complimentary nights at an unnamed casino for obvious reasons. I bought in for $3,000, which I usually do at the craps table. I played for probably an hour and a half. I'm having a good time, doing some winning a little bit. At the end of my session, I decided to color up, so I put my chips down. The dealer counts my chips. I have about 2,700 in black, 700 in green, and about 100 red. So he counts it all up, and he says 35.56. So I made 5.56. He counts it again. He says 35.56. Do you see it? And I said, yep, I see. I agree. Then he turns to the box man, and he says 35.56. And the box man, who's busy on the computer, turns and just glances for a second, and he goes, yep, 35.56, send it. So the dealer reaches to the middle of the table. He assembles 2 stacks of 3 purple chips with 1 additional purple chip off to the side, and then the spare change. And again, he says 35.56, and he sends it out to me, and I pick up the chips. I go to the cashier, and usually when I'm going to spend a little bit of time somewhere, I try to avoid a lot of cash transactions because they just take too much time. So I usually keep 3,000 in chips for my next session. Well, I cut out 3,000 to put in my pocket, and instead of having 5.56 left, I have 15.66 left. I'm thinking about what happened. Was there a mistake? Did I miscount? And I'm like, no, he said it multiple times, 35.56. Somehow they gave me $1,000 extra dollars. Now I'm thinking about, I'm paranoid all weekend because, they really track the $1,000 chips, $500 chips, and even the $100 chips. And I'm thinking somewhere when they do a count, they're going to find out they had that overpayment or that they have some short chips. But it never happened. Luckily, because of that overpayment, I had a small win this weekend of about $500. So sometimes you can get lucky that way, guys.
It's funny because the caller said that he saw him cut out basically 7 $500 chips, right? Which is $3,500. So who knows what happens? It does remind me of when something very similar happened to me at the Mirage years ago, where it wasn't until I got up to the cashier. I didn't tuck away any chips. I cashed out for everything. But when I got up there, I had like $500 more than I expected. And by that time, I was far away from the table. Never really did understand what had happened, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe that was a dirty stack. Maybe a couple of those fives were $1,000.
Yeah, something right at the bottom. Yeah, who knows?
Well, and you've seen it where they sometimes stack them up, mostly again your favor, like they're kind of cut out 5 chips and they cut out 4. It was one of those situations where you thought he was cutting out 3 and 3 and he cut out 4 and 4.
Mike, doesn't it seem like that happens way more than it should? Now, I'm not saying it happens a lot, but you and I certainly see it enough, especially with big amounts, that it's like, wow, how is this getting past multiple sets of eyes? And thank goodness I was paying attention.
Well, and a lot of times when there's a lot going on, like let's say there's a big roll and then 5 people on each side want to color up. Yeah. They're trying to move the game along, and that's when mistakes happen.
Yeah, you got to watch, make sure they don't like take your stack and shove it into the bank, right? Something like that. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen some weird things. So, and a lot of it's probably just they're under pressure to keep the game moving. Yeah. And, they got 10 people to color up, so they don't want to slow the game down and, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, you got to watch your money.
Yep. All right, next call.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Nick from Colorado calling in with a trip report. I just landed a few hours ago. So we stayed at the Flamingo for the first night, and then we moved down to Circa for the next 4 nights. And here's a tip for people. Do not upgrade to the stadium swim view unless you like heavy thumping bass playing starting at 7:30 and until midnight. But gambling was pretty good overall, a little uneven. Craps was just that. I had some good luck at Pai Gow, played Pai Gow a couple of different places, including at the Palm, where I hit 4 of a kind. And then I also played at Resorts World. I hit a Royal Flush there, so I was very happy about that. And we also played a little bit at Fountain Blue, which has a $25 table. I mean, it was Sunday afternoon, so I'm not sure they have it all the time, but they had a $25 table, and that was a great place to play. Overall, we played quite a bit of video poker, some at Resorts World, where if you go to the sports book, they have local craft beer that they will comp you. Overall, it was a great weekend. Checked out Rio, Gold Coast, Sun Coast, so we were kind of all over. Saw a great comedy show at the Rio. The remodel of the Rio is great. They're halfway done, so the other half was kind of like a warehouse, and we went up to the Voodoo Lounge on the 51st floor, which gives great views, and they were giving away 2-for-1 drinks, so it was a great trip overall. Gambling, not so great. Lots of fun, though. It was fun to hit some big bonuses on Pai Gow. Have a great day. Bye.
All right. Thanks very much, Nick. Good. Nice report on Las Vegas.
Yep. Sounds like a good trip.
Yeah. Don't upgrade to the stadium swim view. Good advice at Circa. If you're going to go to bed before midnight, that bass. You haven't been out on stadium swim, but that volume is loud.
Is it?
Yes, it is loud.
Well, I can imagine. They want it to be, right?
Yeah. Whenever
you want to simulate that there's more people and it's a bigger party and everything, just turn the music up.
Yeah, really.
And in our heads, we think, oh, man, it's going. That's the place to be, right?
Yeah.
So that's why it's always loud.
All right. Raymond is up next.
Hey, Mike and Dr. Mark. Mark and Dr. Mike. It's Raymond. I just had something interesting happen at the craps table. I thought you'd want to hear and see what your take on it is. Someone was betting $18 placing the 4, and it hit. And the dealer didn't know how much to pay him. She's an experienced dealer. She was arguing that he should get paid $31, but the box said just $30. And the more I thought about that, the more I thought that was an interesting question. I wonder how the rules are actually written in the payout structure for the game, because if you just take it at face value, each red chip pays $9, so that's $27, and each white chip pays $1, so that's $3, so it'd be $30. But if you take the 3 white chips together as a unit, well, 9 to 5 would be the same as 4.5 to 2.5, And so the $2.50 portion of that $3 should theoretically get paid 4.5. And then they'd round the half down, so it should get paid 4. So the $31 actually, I could see an argument for that. But ultimately the box won and they only paid $30. But I'm very curious. I've never seen such a horrendously improper bet before. Anyway, thanks for the show, guys. And I'll talk to you next time something cool happens. All right. Bye.
All right. A lot of math in that call.
Yeah, but the Boxman was right. It should pay 30. That's the way casinos do it. They're not going to give you that 4.5.
I have no trouble with them giving 30 because, again, how was this bet made? Why did this guy bet $18? It's an improper bet. Why was the bet booked?
Betting 20 would have been the proper because then he could buy it. I'm thinking, Mark, this is an inexperienced player who thought that everything was 18, like 6 and 8 was 18.
Yeah.
You know, I just give him 18, right? So I'm kind of blaming the dealer on this. When they booked that, whoever, if it was her or somebody before her, they should have just said, no, this is 15 or 20.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what was going on because an experienced player, why in the world would you bet $18?
Now, here's what I would say, and it's not like the dealers or the box have a calculator there, nor should they. They should be doing this stuff in their head. But a place bet on a 4 pays 9 to 5. So to figure out what $18 pays, it's 18 times 9 divided by 5. And that works out to $32.40. Cut the 40 cents off. It should pay 32. And if you were playing on a bubble craps machine, 18 would pay 32.
Get paid, yeah.
So anyway, there you go. Kind of silly. Okay, next up is Josh.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. Josh here from the On the Wrong Lead podcast. I want to give you a quick little trip report here. Well, first of all, for Breeders' Cup, I actually went to Breeders' Cup, which is at Del Mar. Unfortunately, I believe you guys were at Zorkfest. Got to go to Sequan, was only there for a couple hours, really only played slots, but I did get a kick out of my friend's dad, just not understanding cards being used in craps whatsoever. And, you know, he was just kind of raising the stink, didn't understand. I tried to explain to him beforehand, but, you know, he was just not a huge fan of it. But the property was nice. You know, if I'm ever back in town, I would definitely go back again. In March, early March, I was actually able to stay at the Luxor, was there for 4 days out in Vegas, and had a great opening, maybe day and a half. You know, things get kind of murky because, you know, when you're playing craps, you're playing table games and you're winning and, you know, getting drinks and stuff kind of melds together. But 3 things happened in the first day and a half that we were there. 2 of them would be hitting the all tall small on back-to-back rollers. I was only playing at $1 two-way for, you know, me and the dealers. Hit it, was just ecstatic. Everyone was going nuts. You know, no one had bet it. And then the next roller, I went 2-2-2 for myself and put the dollar out there for the dealer still. And sure enough, next roller hits it as well. That just got me off to such a hot start and a lot of money. Shortly after, I got dealt a mini royal at 3-card poker, and I was playing the bonus bet. So I believe it paid 50 to 1, and, you know, I had $5 on that. Yeah, I mean, I was up to a great start. I have multiple pictures of myself with purple chips, somewhere between $800+ cashing out, and it turned into a losing trip. Things happen, but it was a fun trip altogether. I will say people dog on the Luxor, but, you know, we went and played at Excalibur for about a half hour, and that was a terrible experience. Dealers there, not great, but can't say enough good things about the Luxor and the dealers at the Luxor. Can't wait to be back. Thanks.
All right, great. Sounds like you had a great trip. I'm glad you enjoyed Luxor.
Yeah, you know, I don't mind Luxor.
I don't either. It's been a while since we've been there.
We've been there. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it's like now, but when we used to go there occasionally, I kind of liked playing there. I don't know if I like staying there.
Yeah, boy, it's been a long time since we stayed there. Well, you know, 360 Vegas Vacation is going to emphasize the south part of the Strip. And at least one event is happening at Luxor. So, yeah, I'm going to check all those things out when I'm there. You're refusing to go to that event, correct, Dr. Mike? Flat out refusal. Yeah.
Flat out. Yeah, I just don't do that. It's just a personal thing.
Yeah, I understand. No, you even said yourself, you're doing a lot of stuff this summer. There are only certain events you'll be able to go to. You are still thinking about Blackhawk, though, right?
I am.
Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's something that I really enjoy in Colorado.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Next up, let's hear from Casino Meetup regular Chris.
Hey, Mark and Dr. Mike. This is Chris from Fort Worth, Texas, calling you with a birthday trip report that I went on to Shreveport, Louisiana. My great friend Alistair from London came to Texas to see his brother and hang out with me and my wife, Julie, for my birthday weekend. I turned 50. Birthday was on March 14th, so that Saturday and Sunday we spent some time in Shreveport. It was Julie and I's first time to really get away and gamble since we were in Vegas for Thanksgiving in 2023. Alistair got us a couple of rooms at Sam's Town, which is a Boyd property. The casino is a boat, but they do a good job using the space well. Bottom floor is non-smoking and looks like that is where they basically stick all the really old machines there. Second floor is table games and slots. Third floor is slots. We hung out mostly on floor 2 playing craps and slots. I did not do too good on my rolls, and Alistair had a couple of okay rolls. But the reason for my call is to let you know something that happened while we were there playing craps. There was an old cowboy that looked like he just walked off the set of Yellowstone. He was hopping all the crap numbers, 2, 3, 12, plus a few other bets that I couldn't see. Alistair gets the dice, and his first 2 rolls are 3s. Completely shuts the table down because they were counting his bets since he is basically throwing random chips on the numbers he wanted. Then they had to do the math to see what he won and then subtract that from his bet. Every time I would say it was a solid 3 to 5 minutes of shutting down the table. All the time they had to over-explain the odds to him and tell him exactly why he was getting paid what he did. Other than that, it was such a wonderful trip. All 3 of us had the pleasure of hanging out with Mark back in Biloxi, 2022. Cannot wait to visit with you again during 360 Vegas vacation in June. I have been a listener since episode 1, and my favorite craps memory is us playing at the D and wiping the table out of almost all their red chips when a guy not in our group went on a monster roll for at least 45 minutes. That was the time Cousin Vito wanted to walk the Fremont Strip. Then he came back, and it was the same shooter. He had me put a nickel on the hard 6, and it hit. Dr. Mike was running around the table every time a point was hit. Amazing time. My wife has a great picture of the dust circles on the table by the empty sacks of chips. Anyways, thank you for the show and always being so wonderful to visit with. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, that D roll, that is one of the highlights.
Yeah, I remember that was fun.
Yep. And it was during a 360 Vegas vacation, too. What I forget sometimes is that I had twisted my ankle about an hour earlier.
Yeah.
And the next day, I couldn't put any weight on it. So luckily, I don't really think of
I
that.
remember later, we were at Planet Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's where we're staying.
You were trying to go get some medicine. Oh, just the pharmacy. You were going to get a wrap, I think.
I was going to get a wrap, right.
Yeah. Pharmacy's around the corner.
Yeah, I had to walk down there. Meanwhile, you're at the table. Mike, come on, Mark. I'm playing some craps here.
I really thought it was just a very, very short little... No, it was a long way.
It was bad. It was so long. And, I got home. I went to see the doctor. He said, boy, you really messed up your ankle. So
those curbs are dangerous.
Yeah, those curbs. I might have had a verbena right before then, so that could explain it. But yeah, what a great trip. It's so funny. Chris and Julie show up to so many events, and to hear him say that they haven't had a gambling trip, I should say, since Thanksgiving 2023, it's like, oh, really? Didn't I just see them last year? I guess not. So yeah, it'll be great to see them again here in June.
I liked when he started to say that's where they put the old, and it was machines. And in my head, before he even said machines, I put old people.
Yeah, down on the floor. Can I see some ID? Right this way.
Yeah, you're here. This is where you play.
Well, old machines, if it weren't for the non-smoking, then I would say, yeah, it is all a bunch of old people.
Right.
But old people are just as likely to smoke as anybody, maybe more likely.
More likely, probably, yeah.
All right, let's hear from Uncle G.
Gentlemen, this is Uncle G calling in from Massachusetts. I am in Las Vegas right now. Today is my first day of what's going to turn into like an 8 or a 10 night trip. So I'm calling in night 1. I arrived in town early this morning and I just started gambling right away. Great day, enjoyed the sunshine, connecting with dealers that I haven't seen in a while, and bartenders and servers, and had a good time gambling and drinking all day. And it's time 7, 8 o'clock, and I said, I'm going to go check out the room. I just dropped my stuff off and take a little break. And I realized I'm down about $400, probably $300 of gambling and $100 of tipping. And I said, oh, it's not bad for a good day of gambling. There was no big losses. Everything was fine. And, you know, I got a little energy left in me. I wouldn't mind a few more drinks and some more playing. Let me see if I can get back to even for the day. And I realized that means that maybe I'm going to drop, you know, and end up down 800 for the day, or maybe I'm going to end up even, whatever. I go back out realizing that's the chance I take. And I sit down and I play video poker, put in $100. I'm playing $5 hands, and I'm just winning everything I touch. 4 of a kind, full house after full house. And I immediately go to like $280. So I cash out, give the bartender a decent tip. I'm looking around and I see a $25 blackjack table that pays 3-2. So there's a couple guys playing. I sit down and I win like 4 out of 5 hands. And then all of a sudden I get 2 8s versus the dealer showing like a 9. I split the 8s. I get 2 3s. I double those. I get 2 face cards. I get 2 21s against the dealer 19. And I collect all my money. And I'm just sitting there kind of dumbfounded. And I go, color in. And a couple of guys are at the table. They go, what are you doing? And I go, I'm coloring in, man. I was trying to get to $500, but I was at $475. So I took $200 buy-in. I'm at $475. And I said, you know what? That's good enough. I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning up instead of down. Took a long time to learn that lesson, but it certainly helps me. Leave up.
Up instead of down when you wake up. That is good advice.
Yeah, you know what? It's still hard to sleep that first night.
That's
Because
true.
if you're up, you're itching to go back. And if you're down, you're itching to go back.
I love
10 nights.
8 to 10 nights. Come on. Can you imagine either one of us going that long to Las Vegas?
That's only going to happen to me if I win the lottery and I take the cash value, and it's a big one. So my cash value is like 400 million or something. And then I take $10 million and I allow $1 million a day for my budget. Then I'm doing 10 days. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not betting any differently than you do right now, but $1 million a day. Yeah. That'll keep you alive probably. What I love about Uncle G's story is how many times have we heard horror stories about splitting 8s and then either having to resplit or double on them, right? The story usually ends horribly.
Yeah.
Right? And here he actually made 21s on both.
That's why they're telling this story.
Well, right.
I had to split again. And then I ended up losing all 4 of them. We've all been there.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Mike, I've got a couple more phone calls here, but I think I'm going to save them for next time because we're getting close to 50 minutes here.
All right. Sounds good to me. Yeah, we can save them for next time.
All right. Sounds good. Well, we want to thank some people for some recurring donations. From James, from Jeremy at the Color Up YouTube channel, from Kurt, from the National Association of Casino Party Operators, and from Nathan. Thank you very much for those recurring donations. Hey, at the top of our webpage, you'll find a link to our store where you can buy You Can Bet on That merchandise. Also, you can find a list of all the gambling-related shows coming up on American television at youcanbetonThat.com/TV-listings. Also, we've got a list of gambling-related movies at youcanbetonThat.com/movies. We'd love to hear from you. Call our voicemail hotline at 951-292-4377. That's 951-2-WAGERS.
951 Two wagers.
Or you can email us at youcanbetonThat@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at YouCanBetOnThat and on Facebook at facebook.com/YouCanBetOnThat. Dr. Mike, over to you.
Mark, it's funny because last night I was watching the Padre game, and as everyone knows, I'm a huge Padre fan, and I vowed to watch every single game this year because, I have the MLB package. So even if I'm not home, I can come home and watch the game.
Yeah.
So far, I am at 100%.
Good.
But I was thinking to myself last night, best record in baseball, they're winning, they're playing well, everything's going their way. I'm not that excited.
What?
I am trying to hold that in, thinking that, if I don't get excited and it's just kind of ho-hum, they'll keep winning.
I got you, yeah.
If I start tooting their bandwagon and just going crazy about it, then that'll blow the whole thing.
Okay, yeah, that's smart fan behavior.
Superstitious has nothing to do with superstition. It's proven that it works. So
Good.
I would love it, though, if they did really well this year, which I think they'll do well, but whether they'll beat the Dodgers, who knows?
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of talk going on about a salary cap in baseball.
Oh, okay.
For or against, Mark?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I guess I'd be for it. In a smaller market, I guess I'm going to be for it.
Yeah, smaller markets are going to be for it. They tried to institute that penalty when you go over a certain amount, but it's not enough, right? The Yankees, the Dodgers, they're making so much money.
Yeah.
They don't care about the penalty.
Yeah, right.
They're just going to win another championship and sell a ton of merchandise. So, yeah, I'm kind of for it, and not just a small market. I just think it would even things out. Not that they need to be even, because it is nice when an underdog or somebody who from a small market just has a great year. And it's also kind of nice when the Yankees or Dodgers load up with a bunch of huge contract players and they have a bad year.
Yeah, that's kind of fun, yeah.
Something happens where they don't win. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that so everyone is clear about what I'll be doing until October.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you in a couple weeks.
Good night.
I'm so excited! Did you see the ring? Oh my God. I can't wait to tell my parents I'm marrying a doctor.
He's a dentist.
What? It doesn't matter. The invitation will still read Dr. and Mrs. What's his last name?